10 best Formula 1 drivers of all time. Have you ever wondered who are the best Formula 1 drivers of all time? Well, we have got your answer right here. Formula 1 was a new formula agreed upon during 1946 after World War II, with the first non-championship races taking place that year. In 1950, the first World Championship race took place, so that event started a really long time ago. To choose 10 best racers along all this time is something very challenging, because over all these years, the event has had many known and great champions. Here, we have put together a list having the best Formula 1 drivers of all time, though they are listed in no particular order. If you're interested in knowing, then please continue watching. Number 1. Lewis Hamilton. If you're a Formula 1 lover, then you're definitely familiar with this particular name. Lewis Hamilton set himself on a path to Formula 1 when he introduced himself to McLaren team boss Ron Dennis at an awards ceremony in 1995. 13 years later, he earned the patronage and support of one of the top Formula 1 teams, which resulted in an F1 drive. He is now considered among the greatest British drivers in Formula 1, having more race victories than any other British driver in history. He just keeps getting better and better with age and still winning races and breaking records. Hamilton is a 6-time Formula 1 world champion, winning his first World's Driver Championship with McLaren in 2008 before moving to Mercedes in 2013, with whom he has won a further 5 titles. He is only 1 win behind Michael Schumacher's record. It is fully expected 2K20 to be the season in which Lewis equals and most likely eclipses Michael Schumacher's record of 91 Grand Prix wins. Number 2. Juan Manuel Fangio. Juan Manuel Fangio dominated the first decade of Formula 1 racing, winning the World Drivers' Championship 5 times. From childhood, he abandoned his studies to pursue auto mechanics. At the age of 21, he served compulsory military service, where his driving skills caught the attention of his commanding officer, who appointed Fangio as his official driver. His record stood for 47 while driving some of the most genuinely iconic racing cars in the history of the sport: Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz, and Maserati, until beaten by Michael Schumacher, who now holds 7 world championships. He is regarded by many as one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time and holds the highest winning percentage in Formula 1, winning 24 of 53 Formula 1 races he entered. Fangio is the only Argentine driver to have won the Argentine Grand Prix, having won it 4 times in his career, the most of any driver. Number 3. Jim Clark. Jim Clark was one of the most unassuming men ever to sit in an F1 cockpit, but also arguably the most singularly gifted driver of all time. Clark achieved 33 pole positions and won 25 races from his 72 Grand Prix starts in championship races. He is remembered for his ability to drive and win in all types of cars and series, including a Lotus Cortina, with which he won the 1964 British Touring Car Championship. Clark had an uncanny ability to adapt to whichever car he was driving. While other drivers would struggle to find a good car setup, Clark would usually set competitive lap times with whatever setup was provided and ask for the car to be left as it was. Unfortunately, Clark was killed in a Formula 2 racing accident in 1968 in Hockenheim, West Germany. At the time of his death, age 32, he had won more Grand Prix races and achieved more Grand Prix pole positions than any other driver. Number 4. Ayrton Senna. Senna first came to the attention of Formula 1 teams in 1983, as he was on his way to winning the British Formula 3 Championship. Williams were first to test the 23-year-old, and McLaren and Brabham also put him in their cars. He made his Formula 1 debut with Toleman Hart in 1984, before moving to Lotus Renault the following year and winning 6 Grand Prix over the next 3 seasons. Senna has often been voted as the best and most influential Formula 1 driver of all time in various motorsport polls. He was recognized for his qualifying speed over 1 lap, and from 1989 until 2006, he held the record for most pole positions. Unfortunately, Senna also passed away in an accident while leading the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix while driving for Williams Racing. Number 5. Michael Schumacher. 7 times a champion, Michael Schumacher also holds nearly every scoring record in the book by a considerable margin. He is the only driver in history to win 7 Formula 1 World Championships, 5 of which he won consecutively. According to the official Formula One website, Schumacher was statistically the greatest driver the sport has ever seen at the time of his retirement from the sport. However, on December 29, 2013, Michael Schumacher suffered a near-fatal accident while skiing in the French Alps. The 7-time world champion's head hit a rock while crossing an unpatrolled skiing area. Thankfully, he survived because of his ski helmet. However, his injuries were severe. His injury resulted Schumacher being placed in a medically induced coma. He regained consciousness only in June 2K14. A lot of this information is mere speculation. The Schumacher family has rightfully kept the German driver's health condition under wraps. Number 6. Sir Jackie Stewart. All great sporting achievements can be distilled into straightforward statistics, and Jackie Stewart's are no different. In 1964, he drove in Formula 3 for Tyrrell. His debut in the wet at Snetterton on 15th March was dominant. He took a 25-second lead in just 2 laps before coasting home to win by 44 seconds. Within days, he was offered a Formula 1 ride, but declined, preferring to gain experience under Tyrrell. His first race in an F1 car was for Lotus, a stand-in for an injured Jim Clark. However, in his whole career, he has achieved 27 of the 99 Grand Prix he contested and won 3 world championships. Number 7. Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is a 4-time Formula 1 world champion, having won consecutive titles in 2010 till 2013 with Red Bull Racing, and is regarded by many as one of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport. He started his Formula 1 career as a test driver for BMW Sauber in 2006, and made his racing debut with the team at the 2007 United States Grand Prix. In 2010, Vettel became the youngest driver ever to win the World Drivers' Championship at the age of 23, also helping Red Bull win their first World Constructors' Championship. In the late season of 2K14, he announced that he was leaving the Red Bull team and joining Ferrari, beginning with the 2K15 season. Vettel began his career with 2 solid seasons that did not reach his previous heights. However, he started the season of 2K17 with 3 race wins out of 6, but later ended the year in second place, behind Lewis Hamilton. Vettel had similar results in 2018, winning 5 races and finishing the season also as runner-up to Hamilton. Number 8. Alain Prost. At 19, Prost left school to pursue racing as a career. He began his career with McLaren in 1980. On his debut in Buenos Aires, he finished in 6th place, earning 1 point, something achieved by only a handful of drivers. He is a master at setting up a car for a race. His measured approach allowed him to capitalize on the failings of others and often saw him mounting strong charges towards the closing stages. He was never far from controversy though, which detracted from his significant on-track achievements. He won his first world championship with McLaren in 1985, becoming the first French world champion in the process. Number 9. Niki Lauda. Lauda became a racing driver despite his family's disapproval. He crashed his way through Formula V and Formula 3, and in 1972, he bought his way into the March Formula 2 and Formula 1 teams with another bank loan secured by his life insurance policy. Niki was unable to prove his worth as a driver, let alone stave off pending bankruptcy. With no qualifications in any other line of work, he had no choice but to keep on racing. He later ended up winning the World Championship in 1975. The year after that, Niki crashed during the 1976 German GP. He suffered terrible third-degree burns to his head and face, and damaged his lungs so severely that a priest read him the last rites by his hospital bed. He survived and recovered sufficiently to race again just 6 weeks later at the Italian Grand Prix. Although he lost that year's title, he won his second championship the year after. And then in 1984, he won his third. Lauda died in his sleep last year in May, age 70, at the University Hospital of Zurich, where he had been undergoing dialysis treatment for kidney problems following a period of ill health. Last but not least, at number 10, Fernando Alonso. A double world champion for the Renault team and winner of 32 Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso became arguably only the 3rd driver after Niki Lauda and Michael Schumacher to exert sufficient force of personality over Scuderia Ferrari to build the team convincingly around himself when he joined them in 2010. Confirmation of his brilliance came in 2006 when he successfully defended his title against strong opposition from Schumacher, whose subsequent retirement left Alonso well placed to succeed him as Formula One's resident superstar. After 18 seasons and over 300 Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso's record of success stood at 32 wins, 22 poles, and 97 podiums. It could have been much more had he made better career choices and avoiding episodes of political strife, though he preferred to be remembered for his fighting spirit.